Last year, a creature was cataloged that breaks almost every assumption we have about what a living thing can do. I'm going to read you the field notes on it, word for word. Nothing added, nothing exaggerated. Every line is real, and every line has been checked. Here's the only catch. Somewhere before the end of this, you're going to realize you already know exactly what this creature is. You've known your whole life. The only question is how long it takes you to see it. So, the report. Entry 1. The organism cannot be contained. It sheds an invisible cloud of itself into the air of every space it enters. And that cloud is unique enough to identify the individual by name. In one study, people were placed alone in a sealed, sterile room. Within hours, researchers could tell exactly who was inside. From nothing but the personal haze of microbes each body was leaking into the air around it. Not a fingerprint left on a surface. A living signature hanging in the room that belongs to one individual and no one else on Earth. Entry 2. It insists that it has 5 senses. It has at least a dozen. Sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing. That's the list it recites. It's wrong. It also senses balance, temperature on a dedicated channel, pain on another, the exact position of its own limbs in total darkness, without looking, and an entire inward sense of its own body, the heartbeat, the hunger, the tightening in the chest a moment before it consciously feels afraid. A creature swimming in more rivers of information than it can even name. Entry 3. It cannot perceive the present. It lives permanently, a fraction of a second in the past. Light and sound reach it at different speeds. Its own signals take real time to crawl along its nerves. So its brain quietly waits, gathers up about 1/10 of a second of the world, stitches every mismatched signal into one seamless scene, and only then plays it back as if it were happening live. Every moment this creature has ever experienced was already over by the time it arrived. It is always a step behind reality, and it is never once noticed. Entry 4. Inside it sits the most complex machine we have ever encountered. It runs on almost nothing. Roughly 86 billion cells, wired together by trillions of connections. One of the most complicated structures known to exist anywhere. It outthinks machines the size of buildings, and it does all of it on about 20 watts of power. A dim bulb, a storm of tiny electrical pulses crossing living tissue, thinking. On less energy than it takes to light the inside of a refrigerator. Entry 5. It carries the broken instructions of every creature it used to be. Threaded through its code are genes that no longer work. Switched off, but never removed. It still holds the gene for making its own vitamin C. The gene is simply shattered. So, unlike most animals, this one sickens and dies without the right food to make up for it. And in the weeks before it is born, it grows a small tail, around 10 tiny vertebrae, then dismantles it and absorbs it back into the body. It walks around carrying the disabled blueprints of the animals it descends from, a genome like an attic full of crossed-out drafts. Entry 6. It changes color when it senses that it is being watched. Not by choice, and it cannot stop it. When this creature feels observed, caught, embarrassed, exposed, blood floods to the surface of its face, and the skin visibly reddens. A private feeling, broadcast to everyone in the room, against its owner's will. As far as we can tell, it is the only animal on Earth that does this. Entry 7. When its inner state changes, it leaks fluid from its own eyes, and others of its kind grow gentler when they see it. It weeps. Alone among animals, it sheds tears purely from feeling. Not to clear away dust, but from grief, from joy, from being overwhelmed. The fluid is even chemically different from its ordinary tears. And it works as a signal, a silent flare that tells every member of its species nearby that something is wrong, and pulls them closer. Entry 8. Under certain conditions, it seizes control of its own breathing and emits sharp, repeating sounds. This is not distress. It is triggered by contradiction, and it spreads from one to the next like a current. It laughs, almost entirely against its will. It cannot manufacture a real one, and it cannot easily stop once one takes hold. It happens perhaps 30 times more often in company than alone, and it jumps between bodies. One starts, and the whole group catches it, brain to brain, no reason required. So, how long did it take you? Because by now, the creature in the report has a name. Homo sapiens. It's us. It's you. The cloud you are shedding into the room, right now. The dozen senses you're running without noticing. The 10th of a second you are living behind the rest of the world. The 20 watts of lightning reading this exact sentence. Here's the trick the report quietly exposes. None of this ever felt strange to you, because you have never once stood outside of it. You've been this creature every second you've been alive. So, the impossible just felt like an ordinary Tuesday. Familiarity is the best camouflage there is. It can hide an entire alien in plain sight, simply by calling it you. And there's one last line in the file, the strangest one of all. The specimen knows with total certainty that one day it will stop existing, and it goes on building, and loving and laughing anyway. We keep pointing telescopes at the dark, waiting for something strange enough to finally count as alien life. The strangest thing we have ever found has been holding the phone the whole time. So, are you actually an alien? Close enough.